Countfilms archives.
Always more pressure. Okay, so now we have some top pressure. Now we need some bottom pressure. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to show you guys how to use your knee to move their hips out of the way. And when I do this live on people, I'll do this after I start to put pressure on their head. Okay, so I'll either do shoulder pressure first, or I'll do head pressure first, then I'll do knee pressure. Okay, so you have the order of operations. Alright, now what's going on here, guys, is I'm going to use the tip of my knee to move his hips actually out of the way. Okay, so like with our head pressure, we're kind of making the top of his spine curve this way. Now I'm going to make the bottom of his spine curve away from me. Then I will kick it off. Sometimes you do this hard enough that their legs just open, and that's fucking awesome. Okay, but I don't assume they're going to open just from my knee pressure. I assume it's going to soften them up so I can kick them open. Okay, so the way to do this, guys, go ahead, just trap quarter guard a little bit. Okay, I have to take my foot that's trapped and I have to lift it towards my hips. Okay, I don't care if his legs move or not. That's not the point. The point is that if I don't do this and I start to push my knee backwards, there's a chance I will accidentally just push myself into half guard. Okay, by lifting my foot up towards my hips like this, it's putting all of the weight on my knee and really driving into the mat. That way I know I can't mess up and put myself back in a bad position. Okay, so you can do this with an active post, okay, or I can do this with some kind of tricep grip, okay, or like an overhook on this other arm. Okay, so we can always mix things up a little bit. Alright, there's pros and cons to a lot of different things. If I have my hand planted on the mat as an active post, I can kick a lot harder. Okay, I can put a lot more power behind these pushes because I'm a lot more stable. Okay, if I want to put more pressure on my knee, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab something that I can use to pull my knee backwards. Okay, and then I can kind of do a hybrid. Right, I can grab here and trap it between my shoulder, then I can go back and plant. Okay, this gives me a baseline to kind of push myself backwards, keep this arm out of play, and still kick pretty hard with my leg because I have this active post. Okay, so what I'm doing, gotta keep the quarter guard. Okay, I make sure my knee is lined up. Okay, and lined up means the tip of my knee. Okay, so whatever way that is facing, that is what I'm talking about. Okay, if you look right now, the tip of my knee is facing out. That's bad. I want it to face either a little bit in towards him for stability or perfectly underneath me. Okay, I start to lift my foot up. Okay, and you notice I turn my knee around just by shifting my hips most of the time. The more I shift my hips out, the more my knee points in. Okay, now I start to slide it backwards into his hip here. Okay, and I go back as far as I feel comfortable. Alright, like I've been doing this for a long time, I feel pretty comfortable sprawling from here because I can still start to open that up and then slide myself up. Okay, but the bigger your opponent is, the more torque they put on your knee, the less comfortable you'll feel going really, really far back. Okay, and you're only doing this to add more pressure so you can kick it off. Okay, so if like all I could do is go back, let's say that far, that's okay. If you look right now, you see how far his top knee is overlapping now. Okay, now I have a much bigger area to start to kick. Okay, it's a lot easier to open it up. He's not even really crossing his feet anymore. Okay, now if I go back, go ahead, keep it. If I go back a little more, now it's even more open. Go back a little more, it's even more open. Okay, so again, the more comfortable you get doing this, the further you go back. But if you can only go back a little bit, that's okay, because it's all just adding more pressure that makes it easier for me to open this up. Okay, now the mechanics of it, I'm making sure I'm actually touching his hips the whole time. Okay, I'm raking this out of the way. Okay, so it's not just about the sprawl, it's about sprawling while I'm pushing it into his hips. Okay, that's what's going to move his legs out of the way. Now, this mechanic is really important because you can do this from a lot of different spots. Okay, I do this a lot of times when I just landed, okay, before he even closed quarter guard. Like I'll get down here and I'll start to sprawl and move his legs out of the way. Okay, before he even gets a chance to close quarter guard. Alright, if you're not good at that and you do that, you're just going to end up in half guard though. So that's like the more you practice, the more comfortable you get kind of thing. Okay, if guys are ever like trying to knee shield you, okay? A lot of times you can sprawl on it, move his hips out of the way there, okay? Not so much no-gi, but in the gi, guys will try to kick over and lasso you, okay? Especially more flexible guys. And on situations like that, if his legs are open, he's kicking up and over, again, you just sprawl and move his legs out of the way, okay? So we'll use that mechanic a lot, so it's a good one to add. So one more time. A different angle. Notice I've got to make sure this is touching him, okay? The whole time I'm going backwards, I'll feel like my knee wants to pull itself out, and that's where the skill comes in. You're fighting that. Don't let it turn out. If it turns out, it's not touching him anymore, so going back further isn't going to actually move his body out of the way, okay? So if I am doing this and my knee, like say I mess up, I get to about here, it turns, I'm going to go back up, start over, reset, okay? And again, if you're really struggling keeping your knee pointed, shift your hips out. Okay, now you can see my knee is pointed really far into him. It's better to have it directly under me, but that's when you're fighting the line more. You know, you're gonna mess up more and have it pull itself out. So if you're struggling, turn it in. Okay. And again, I won't do this until after I've added head pressure. So full pressure is this first. Plant, reline up, add more pressure, keep the quarter. Okay. Now I'll come down, start to grip something, sprawl it open. If it opens like that, I'm good. Okay. If their legs open because there's just too much pressure for the guy, it's okay, you just pass. If it doesn't open, push with authority. So.
Can you do the sprawl without the head and neck pressure? Like
yes, you can.
Over?
It's just, it's not as, it's more compromising. Like you probably won't lose this ever, especially when you get better at it. But adding head pressure doesn't compromise my position at all. In the same way, adding shoulder pressure doesn't compromise it. Sprawling can compromise it. Okay, so it's always the last thing I'm going to want to do.
Can I see what you mean? Like if you don't have the neck pressure?
Yeah. So like I can do the knee pressure from here. I can do that. Okay. But you see that I'm more likely to fuck up doing the knee pressure than I am doing the head pressure. Okay. So like if I go to sprawl and I just completely just shit the bed, do this, go ahead, get your guard back. You see what I mean? Whereas there's just no openings like that from the head pressure. So this is just how you add more pressure when you need it. Guys, I only do what they make me do. So like if I didn't have to do any head pressure and I could just kick the shit out of his legs and they open, that'd be awesome. Okay, honestly, probably like 80% of the time that's all you do have to do. Because people, they hold quarter guard, but they don't squeeze it. Okay, so if your first attempt to open it is really aggressive, they're not ready for it, it opens, you're passed. Okay, other questions on the knee? All right, go grab partners.
Oh my god, that's too quick.
Guys, when you're practicing the knee right now, do it without the head pressure just so you can get the motion down, but then later on when you're doing it live, try to add the head pressure first. Okay? Yeah, so try to focus on the knee pressure first for now, okay?
And I wouldn't stay that way.
Now kick it open.
I still can't get it. I don't know exactly what I'm doing.
Okay. You gotta lift your foot. There you go. Lift it and you lost your connection. Push it down. Lift and keep it on the mat and turn into it a little bit. Now slowly start to rake it into it.
Okay.
You see how you're pushing it out this way?
Yeah.
Push it in. Yeah, don't ever be on this knee though. This can go over here if you need to.
And then if I try to stay here, am I going to stay there?
Once I get down, I usually come to this side. So you enter across, get down, and you stay here. And then you can come around this side and start to pressure finish.
Oh, okay. This is where that. Oh, okay. So I was keeping my head on that side.
You could do it from that side. It's just going to be hard. You have to be better at it. Like figure out the pressure on this side, and then go back and try to do it on that side. Because you should be able to do it on the other side.
I think that was messing me up, trying to even get the hang of it.
I think that's what it was. You were on the other side trying to figure it out in like the hardest possible.
Yeah. Get a
Oh, of course. My hips too high. No. You got now kick it open and slide up. I have zero fear of getting rolled in there.
Because all your weight's on that side.
All my weight stays on my knee. And if they ever try to roll me, I haven't actually. Most my underhook just shit. I sit them up towards me a little bit so they can't roll me. Yes. This is going to be the most one.
Yeah, this one's a little bit difficult. So I get my shoulder lift up, right? Yep. And that's roll here.
You're doing it right.
This is where I feel like my knee starts to separate right here.
So
I'm already involved.
you're trying to do it when you're still across on this side. That's the hardest side of the way to do it. It's easier to do it than to fully. So like, I enter and I corkscrew and get down. And once I'm down, then I can come back to the other side.
Alright. So like if I were to be on this side,
Yeah, now do it from there.
now it's easier for me to like,
You see your legs just open.
yeah, it feels better. Thanks, man.
The more you comfortable you get it, especially when your knee heals up a little bit too, then you'll be able to go back and do it on the other side. But you'll never get as much pressure from the other side. You're still going to push the top leg to open it. You're still going to sprawl.
This knee is just coming up, but I want to stay.
Never let it come out like that. So all you need to do is just take your hips, shift around, and you see the point of your knees. Push it in.
Hey, I was in sprawl. I'm sprawling but in.
Yeah, it's got to be touching because you're actually using your knee to move it.
Like this.
Yep, now start to slide down. There you go. If that's as far as you feel comfortable, now kick his legs open by pushing the top leg first. Now you can clear. So yes, I only go far as I feel comfortable just to add more pressure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So still kick if you have to, but if you can
Yeah.
sprawl it out, sprawl it out.
Yep.
Least amount of effort possible.
It's not laziness, it's efficiency.
Exactly.
I mean, you could just like not give them a chance to open their legs and just fucking crank on them and shit.
Right.
If we're being completely honest, most people like can just keep their legs open.
Right. Yeah, it's that space to kick it still. It feels like it isn't going to work.
You know, because I was bitching about the prices. And I'm like, y'all are making 100,000 more still. And you're bitching 55.
Comfy.
Okay, guys. Everyone's doing actually really good on this one. Now we're going to go back and add shoulder pressure. So you can see that that is what I would consider the maximum amount of pressure you can put on someone. But a lot of times, if you can't put more pressure than that, you'll have to start switching your pressure up, or you'll have to keep the pressure longer. Okay. So what I mean by that, okay, before I talk about shoulder pressure, let's say I did you know, get my head pressure going, and I got it over here, and I got scrolled back pretty far. Keep it. Okay. And let's say you just wouldn't open. Okay. I'm trying to open them. It's not opening. What do? Okay. If you literally can't add more pressure, you have to keep the pressure. Okay. And you probably have to push harder. All right. This pressure here, opening his legs up. A lot of people get lazy with it because how easy it is to open most people's legs. To where, go ahead, squeeze it as hard as you can. They'll tap it, and if it doesn't open, they'll just stop. Okay, I mean you want to get pretty good at really opening those up. Okay, it's like a pressure you build up, and the concept of conserving energy for passing doesn't really apply here because you're not going to get a better spot to put all of your pressure down than this. You know what I mean? Like what are you really waiting? Where are you going to get a better time to use the energy? Here, you should be like really cranking on their head. Really sprawling on this, really kicking the shit out of his legs with, you know, push. But, come on, okay? And if that doesn't work, it just takes more time. If it's a 10-minute match, if it takes me 8 minutes to get past his guard here, that's okay. Like, there's a couple tricks I can do to try to, like, break the friction loose and try to maybe explode out. But the more explosive I get, the more likely I'm going to make some kind of space, okay? So we want to pressure cook them here, okay? Just so you guys understand my thought process behind this. Now, we're going to add shoulder pressure. Okay, so like if I did get my head pressure going and I did get this sprawl pressure going, I couldn't get it open, and I cooked him for a while and it wasn't working, I probably will come back, sit him up, and start looking for shoulder pressure next. Okay, and then if the shoulder pressure doesn't work, I'll go back around and start using my head pressure, and I'll just kind of keep going back and forth between those until I can get him to open up. Okay, now the shoulder pressure itself is what I want you to understand. I'm not really trying to crank on their face when I do this. I want it to be pretty close to a choke. Okay. It's very important I don't let him look at me because I'm an ugly fuck, okay, and I always make them look away. But it's really about his spinal alignment, okay? The more you can turn into me, the more comfortable he's going to be. I'm always going to make him turn away. But again, you might see me dropping my shoulder on his chin. That's not really the goal. The goal is to make it a choke and just make him as uncomfortable as possible. And the way you do that, guys, is you sit them up just a little bit. It's hard to get perfect shoulder pressure if he's flat on the mat from here, okay? So I usually sit them up, all right? And the first thing I'll do is I'll take my hand and I'll turn it around backwards. Okay, so my thumb will go down and through. And what this does is it gives me a different angle on my elbow alignment here. Okay, so I'll turn my hand around and I'll come underneath his neck with this. Okay, but what I'm really looking to do, guys, is actually line this up, because you can go too deep with your shoulder pressure and it won't be a choke. Just like I can be too shallow and it's not going to be a choke. Okay, I'm looking for the Goldilocks. So I'm looking to actually push this down into his neck first. Okay, and you'll see me like wiggle my arm a little bit. It's just I'm breaking the friction loose so I can actually get this lined up. So when I close this off around his neck, there's no pocket here. Okay, and once I start to close this off, okay, you see that's the wiggle. Okay, now it's going to go straight under his back. And I'll actually grab his spine here. All right, now this is where everyone kind of messes up because everyone wants to go and lean on his face here. And if I lean forward, it pushes my elbow past his neck, and then I make an air pocket. Okay, so I actually want to take my shoulder back down towards his stomach. All right, so when I'm here and here, I've got that lined up. Okay, I go back. I can grab something. I could even gable grip my hands together, but I'm going to take this, and you see I'm turning my shoulder this way. Okay, now I start to put the pressure down here. Oh,
yeah.
It sucks. It's a choke, right?
Yeah, here, fuck.
Yeah. Like I said, because if you saw the Fix My Game, I wasn't kidding. I used to go and just, actually I did this the worst ever in Texas when I was a blue belt. I went to like 6 schools here because my friend was taking me around, and I just made it a point to choke every black belt at every gym unconscious. Just with shoulder pressure. And they always ask me, they're like, what's that submission? It's not a fucking submission. It's just shoulder pressure. People just miss the mechanics a little bit. Everyone gets the face crank, but they don't understand you can choke them from anywhere. Okay, it's just really important you line this up. Okay, and just so you guys can see, okay, say it's not a knee slice, this applies to side control. Okay, once I go under his back like this, all right, like I said, don't lean forward like that. You see I just push my elbow past his neck this way? Okay, once you get that down, keep downward pressure. Okay, so I'm like pulling my arm towards his hips here, and you see I'm taking my shoulder down like this. Okay, at this point I could gable grip, I can do a lot of stuff, but now I start to lean all of my weight through him towards the mat, basically towards his toes. Okay, now I start to come down. Okay, and at that point, go ahead, hold quarter grip. Okay, once I'm there, and I'm putting a lot of pressure down like that, what do? I go back to kicking the shit out of it, okay? And I could be across like this, and start to sprawl, and start to kick, okay? So I can do shoulder pressure and sprawl pressure. But, again, to be completely honest, most of my knee slices against, like, pretty good guys, maybe not like world champion black belt level guys, but most places, all I have to do is shoulder pressure, okay? It's easier to do than head pressure. Like I said, the maximum amount of shoulder pressure is going to be lower than the maximum amount of head pressure, but these kind of margins only matter when they matter. You know, like if he didn't make me have to do maximum head pressure, shoulder pressure is enough, that's great. I don't lose anything by trying shoulder pressure first. Okay, so again, I'm taking my arm, making sure this part really lines up with his neck. Okay, I'll go past it. I'm going to actually wiggle it into place, and this is easier if I sit him up first. Okay, then I go straight under his back, palm up. Okay, and now when I need more pressure, I can come down and gable grip it. But it's important you guys take your shoulder and lean it down towards his chest. Okay, that's probably the biggest trick I've ever learned with shoulder pressure. It went from like face crank to unconscious. Okay, any questions on this?
When you gable grip palm up or palm down?
This one is going to be palm up. So when I reach under his back first, I go palm up, and I start to put the pressure down like that. Okay, but if I need more pressure, I'll turn it palm down, pull it even tighter, and I'm still taking this that way. Okay. Yeah, it will be palm down for more pressure.
Can we see it one more time in the slice?
Yes.
Sorry, bro.
It's like, what the fuck, bro? Okay, so again, I've got him sat up, and if he was doing, like I said earlier, if he was like tucking his head and doing shit like this, you know, like I'm just gonna be cupping this and moving this out of the way. He could do a lot of stuff to make getting perfect shoulder pressure very difficult. And in those situations, if I can't get it, I'm just gonna go to head pressure. Okay, so here and here, open him up. You see I'm like getting my shoulder under his chin first. That way, when I'm here, I feel like I can sit him back up and adjust my angles without giving him a chance to re-scrunch up. Okay. So here and here, I'm lining that up. This will not be fun, my friend. You know when you get it lined up, you're just like, oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Sorry, bro.
Alright, remember they're going to do this to you, so.
So you're saying you would prefer this versus the...
Most of the time I only do the shoulder pressure. Like I said, only really tough people may have to do more. So. Alright guys, grab partners.
Oh, I was looking for you.
We got my water. Yeah. I know.
Now, take your shoulder back to don't ignore his neck at all. Don't do it solar plexus. Like you're trying to push it back. Now you should feel it off.
It's almost there, but not quite.
Yeah, when you feel it fully locked up, you can feel like you can choke from your conscious. You can go back and readjust it. You're still letting him turn in.
Yeah.
Like if he was facing you, like I said, I like the least bit of never in an knee slice. A diving knee slice, okay? So you're gonna fuck this up at first. Like I used to fuck it up. I still fuck it up sometimes, okay? You'll go for it when it's not there, or you'll telegraph it a lot and they'll see you're going for it and they'll take the underhook away, or you won't have enough pressure with your underhook, or you won't have enough pressure with your knee and you'll make space, they'll get their knee shield down. Okay, there's a lot of ways you can screw this up. So we're gonna start covering some of those. We'll start with some of the knee shield stuff first, because this is probably the most common way you screw it up, okay? So there's also different degrees of a knee shield that can come in, okay? There's the knee shield that's on your hip, where you still have your underhook, okay? There's the knee shield that's all the way across because you've really screwed up, okay? So like, you have different responses for both of these, okay? We'll start with shallow.